Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Hand of the Gods, and I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today. So I'm going to be ranking my custom decks in the order that I think they deserve to be, from my least favorite or the worst to my favorite. And now these are going to be kind of based off of my cards and just in my opinion, so it doesn't have to exactly be what your opinion is, and you're free to think otherwise. So these are just going to be my opinions, and I'll give you some reasons why I think it's ranked like how it is. So we're going to hop into it. So coming in at 6th place out of all the leaders, I have Bellona. Or not 6th place, 7th place, sorry about that. 7th place is Bellona. So we're going to look at my Bellona deck, and I'll just scroll through it for you guys, just so you can kind of see what I've been running. And if you see any tips or things you could see that I could add, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. But so this is what I'm working with, and I just feel like she's not that powerful. I mean, I don't have hardly any of the gods for her, but even the gods I do have, like her highest level god is Terra with a level or 6 mana cost, and she could have a lot of potential in the end game, but she's still not really that powerful overall. She only has 6 and 6, and she would die to a Fury, which, yeah, it would suck, but I don't know. So that's kind of why I believe. Also, her leader ability just is a movement thing, and it doesn't really doesn't necessarily help her that much. Like, you can just move troops around, and there is some advantage, but a lot of her spells are just based around movements, and I feel like it's not really that useful or beneficial. And her deck is kind of slow to use, so if you play like an Odin who gets out ahead of you really fast with a bunch of charge cards, then you can really fall behind early and you'll suffer and you won't be able to recover. So that's why I have Bellona at number 7. At number 6, we have Nuwa. Now, I'll show you my deck for Nuwa, and there is going to be a contingency for why I have her ranked this low, because, and the main reason is I don't really have a lot of the, I don't have hardly any of the gods for her. So I could see, like, if you had a, however you say, Ao Kuang or Sun Wukong or Guan Yu, because this deck revolves around using a lot of spells, and those all help you when you have more spells. So I could see how the deck could be improved a lot, but strictly speaking, from the cards that I have, it's not that good, because like my strongest actual card for her is Niza, and she's not really that powerful. Also, the Crescent Blade Forge is pretty useful, but it could definitely be better. Like with Ao Kuang, they would do 2 instead of 1, and it'd make her better. So that's why I have her coming in at the number 6 slot. At the number 5 slot, we have Odin. Now, alright, I gotta show you my cards again for Odin. And so, Odin's deck works around using charge, and you really want to try and get out ahead of your opponents so you can beat them quickly and finish the map before they get a chance to catch back up. Because, as you see there, our strongest card in our deck is Venator, and we just snagged Fenrir, which I was pretty happy about. But before we had a Fenrir, it was Ymir was next with 2 attack, or Thor with 2 attack also, base attack of course, but that's not really that game changing. Like, he is pretty fast to get out in front or like at the beginning, but he's relatively easy to counter though, and it's not that bad of a deal. Now, I don't have a Freya or a Loki, and either one of those would definitely push this deck up higher up the list. Or a Hale, would also push this deck up a lot higher up the ranking, but we don't have either of them yet, so that's why Odin comes in at the number 5 slot. Coming in at number 4, I have Opwash. Now, you guys might think that's kind of weird because I still do enjoy playing with my Opwash deck, even though I do think it deserves this number 4 slot, because I'll show you my deck for him, but the deck is kind of weird to use, and you rely on some like specific strategies, and if they can shut down your strategies, you can't really do much about it. Like, if you get Humbats out and you can get him buffed up a lot, great, the deck will work really well for you. But if you can't, you might have some problems. Also, if you can't really keep zombies out, or if they're worried about the zombies and they address them, they can shut you down with relative ease. Now, as normal, I don't really have any of the good gods like Kabrakan or Amuzan Kab or Cuckoo Clan or Kamazats, and these will all of course make your deck stronger and potentially raise it up the list. But how the deck is right now, Opwash comes in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have Zeus. Now, Zeus's deck has a lot of gods in it. So like we have Nemesis, that's a potential to summon another one. We have an Apollo. We have 2 Aphrodites. That one can spawn a random one for us. We have 2 Hades, 2 Athenas, and an Ares. But the deck is kind of on the upper side of the cost spectrum, and it doesn't really resolve around that many spells, but it is pretty powerful still. The other nice thing is that Heavenly Agility card, if you're fortunate enough to draw on the beginning turn, you can get ahead of your opponents really quickly, and I didn't really figure that out because I thought it was just one turn you got an additional one, kind of like a mana potion. But no, I played an opponent one time and he got both of his Heavenly Agility cards on his, he used the first one on his first turn, and then the second turn he used his other one, and he was cranking out the mana, and I just couldn't keep up pace with him, and I ended up losing the battle. But so of course there's always a few more gods I could have that would put this up higher on the list. We do have Ares, which is the top cost god for Zeus, but a few other that would be better to have or useful to have would be like Thanatos or Medusa. Medusa would be very useful to have as well. I'm not really sure what a flag does. Oh, it's a spawn point. So that could be potentially useful for us. And Arachne is also not that bad. What about Scylla? Scylla could be pretty good too, and I know Poseidon is very good. So if we had a few more gods, Zeus would definitely move up in our rankings. Coming in at our number 2 slot, which is probably going to be pretty controversial, is Ganesha. Now, Ganesha, as you guys have saw, revolves around a lot of pillars and a lot of cards in the backfield, and you just simply beat down your opponents to the point where they can't do anything, and it's pretty bad to play against it sometimes. Now, if we had a Ravana, we'd be basically unstoppable. And there are a few other pillars that we don't have that would make this a lot stronger. If we had a Kumbhakarna, would be probably pretty good, or a Kali. Kali is very powerful, but the main reason I put this lower on my list, even though we have, it seems that the Ganesha deck, it seems to be the meta leader at this time. I've seen a lot of people in ranked play playing with it, and they seem to be using it to their advantage pretty well, because it's kind of hard to counter pillars when you can summon most of your pillars with one or two that's not a pillar, but you can use them with 1 or 2 cost, and then you can use your ultimate and have Pillar of Lives in the back, and you can just simply use Pillar of Exile, which is a 2 cost, to banish potentially one of your highest cost troops. So say for example you're playing and your opponent plays, we'll just find, I forget what it's called, a Fire Giant. He used 8 mana, finally got to play his Fire Giant, and you just shut down that Fire Giant. You're done. Ganesha is very powerful, but the main reason I put it in number 2 behind my raw deck is I still don't have quite all the cards I would like to have for him, and I have only Bakasura and Rama right now, I think, as gods for, and Agni. And Agni's pretty good too, but there are more gods we could use to put him higher. Now, coming in at my top slot for a leader is Ra right now. Now, I'll go through my deck for you again. This deck I have found a good bit of success with in ranked play and just casual matches. There's a few cards I could potentially get that would tweak my deck, but this deck is coming together pretty solidly as a deck that I would use even if I had all the cards for Ra. Like, it does work pretty good, and I just added Geb to it, and I haven't really got to play with him yet, see how he works, but we do have our Neiths, and Isis, which was our legendary pick that we got out of our card drawing that we did. I forget what they're called, but if you haven't seen that, be sure to check out that video because it was pretty awesome when we got it. But we did pull an Isis, and Isis, if you have a bunch of cards out on the field at one point, even if they're just like cheap cost people, like I don't know, like say you just have some Sobex and some Chaos Bonds, and then you used your Recruiter, and you just got crappy people from their deck, like 2 cost. Let's just say you got a couple more, I don't even know, like Elder Harpies or something. Well, then you could use Isis, and they would all have Resurrect, and you could use them to make risky situations that you wouldn't usually use because you don't want a bunch of your units to die, to kill stronger units, and then they would just come back full health, full attack, and beat people down. Also, the other thing that works really well are the antlers in this deck, because it prevents your opponents from using any war cries. So if you get an antler on your early turn and you play against a Ganesha deck, you shut down almost all of the pillars, because almost all of the pillars have war cry abilities to use them, such as Pillar of Exile is a war cry. So if you have your antler down and you play, say, like a Fury or your Neith, somebody that would normally get hit with that Pillar of Exile, your opponent can't use it. They cannot use their banishment to banish you. And a lot of times I've seen my opponents use like expensive ability or expensive cards to kill my antlers, only for me to get my other one out the next turn. Also, Sobek has a lot of potential for, say you're playing like an Odin, somebody that'll rush your summoning stone right off the bat and get some chip damage, because you have a lot of healing abilities. You have 2 meditations in your deck, and then you have your leader ability, which heals a whole column of troops, and that boosts your Sobek's attack. And I've had a Sobek with 13, I think it was, what was it? 11 attack and 11 and 13 health, and my opponent did not concede, but he might as well have, because there was nothing he could do. And it was pretty bad because he beat us down at the beginning, and that's one of the things like I like to say, like, don't just take easy hits on your opponent's tower if you don't need to, especially if you're playing a raw, because of that your not your opponents, but your cards get bonus from healing. Like, Neith has global range when a friendly is healed. She doesn't have that ability if there's nowhere to be healed. Like, she just has normal range, and her range is just average. And you can use that to really shut down your opponents pretty well. That card, Imperial Guard, whenever you play a spell, gain +1 attack, and you don't take return damage. Okay. And the deck just plays pretty well together. The Scarab's Blessing I like to use on typically an Anhur, or say a Neith, somebody powerful in your deck. And I like to use it on Anhur, like I said, because your opponents, if you have your Anhur in the back well protected, your opponents almost always will have to use a spell to spell it down, and then you can just have them brought back, and it's not a problem. So that's what I have. One other thing I want to point out that I figured out, and you guys probably already know this, but I just realized it recently. There are rankings of cards, and they show them. Like I said, I just kind of realized it. So say, look at this Chaos Spawn. Right beneath his name, there's that like diamond shape, and it's black. These are just common cards. And then there's Imperial Guard, which I think he would be like an uncommon. And then say Anhur is purple. Those are epics. Then we go down to Geb, which is a rare. He's blue. And then Isis, which is gold, are legendary cards. And I just realized that. Well, so if you guys agree with my picks or you disagree with my picks, be sure to leave a comment in the comment section below. Just be sure to be respectful, because like I said, this is just my opinions on who I think are the best leaders to use with the deck setups that they have. And so you're free to have your opinion, and you're more than welcome to it. But thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and leave any comments you have below. That's all I got for you guys today, so I'll see you guys next time.